Robert F. Kennedy Jr. obviously switched from Democrat to independent last week, and there's been a lot of noise in the media, a lot of speculation. Who will he hurt more in the general election, Biden or Trump? Because conservatives had these high favorability ratings of RFK while he was running in a Democratic primary. And I will admit this is a bit of a let's pat ourselves on the back kind of segment, because I said all along, I said RFK is going to prove a bigger threat to Biden in the end than Trump. A, because Trump's base is more loyal to him than Biden's base is to Biden. And B, these conservatives are going to have a very short honeymoon with RFK, because at the end of the day, the guy is overwhelmingly liberal in his views. And so as soon as they check under the hood, they're not going to like what they see. They spoke highly of him when he was running inside a rigged Democratic primary because it helped delegitimize the Democratic Party. They did the same to Bernie Sanders. They spoke favorably of Bernie Sanders in the 2016 primary, not because they liked him or his views, but because he was getting screwed by the Democrats, and propping him up was their way of accurately, yes, and correctly describing the Democrats as this sort of illegitimate, anti-democratic, corrupt institution. But now that he's outside the Democratic Party and he's going to be on the ballot against Trump, honeymoon's over. So here he is on the Sean Hannity show for what he thought was going to be a kind interview. And you could see how RFK is very awkwardly taken aback by the fact that it's hostile. It's hostile now because now he's running against Trump. So here we go.
I really do appreciate your position on the border. You and I are in agreement. You know, it's interesting because everybody's now trying to analyze, whether if there's a three-way race with...
By the way, stop. I just have to address this because this is the elephant in the room. Talk about late-stage empire, right? Try to, for purposes of this segment, block out the images of World War III on the right side of the screen during the interview. I know it's hard.
That's the Archduke Ferdinand there taking a headshot. But please tell me your views on the environment.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, who would you more likely draw from? So I hope you don't mind, but I did a little research on you. You're pretty liberal. You've called for curbing, logging, oil drilling, fracking. You wanted to eliminate it. You called it a victory for democracy. You want to curb U.S. fossil fuel extraction. Keep it in the ground, you once tweeted. You want a ban on fossil fuel extraction, a ban on fracking. You called the NRA once a terror group. You've supported over the years Democrats, Gore, Kerry, Obama, Hillary. You've praised Bernie Sanders multiple times. You support affirmative action. So why is this party of yours, why didn't they even want to allow you to compete? Because that's as pretty liberal of a record as anybody I know.
The word is you're to the left of Cenk Uygur.
Right, exactly. This is what I was telling you guys. This is why Trump doesn't have to worry about him as much as you think. He'll pull a few from Trump, but not many. This guy is an anti-gun, pro-choice, environmental lawyer, right? I mean, this guy is not someone who the conservatives are going to be able to get behind when they already have a Republican in the race who they like, Donald Trump. Let's hear RFK try to wiggle out of this.
You have a litany of talking points from statements I've made over 40 years. Some of them are stale. Some of them I never said. But, what is your question? Why the Democratic Party? Why I'm not running at the Democratic Party?
Why did they kick you out?
I feel like...
Well, they kicked him out partially because of everything you just said, because he is to the left of Joe Biden. That's part of why they kicked him out. Yeah, no, there are other reasons for that as well. But this is why I told you there is going to be no honeymoon for RFK with the GOP or the MAGA base. And if you notice, as Russell has said before, one of RFK's go-tos when he gets called out for something that's inconvenient that he said is he'll just say, well, I never said it. So he says there, well, some of those things you mentioned are stale, meaning I said them a long time ago. He doesn't refute them. That's a lawyer term. That's stale. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Right? Mm-hmm. There are things I said 20 years ago. Some I stand by, some I don't, but stale doesn't mean anything. And then some of them I never said. Hannity actually, to his credit, did bring the receipts. And actually, yes, you did say all these things.
Yeah, he's a fucking liar. And we've said that from the beginning. And, one of the few benefits to going against, well, I wouldn't say the whole crowd, but a sizable number of people were pretty pissed when we read RFK's book and said what we had to say about it. But, if you're right, you're right. And eventually time is going to vindicate you. Now, were we wrong to smell a rat with RFK from the beginning? Between his Israel stance and the fact that, look at how he handles this interview. The guy is a fucking liar. He is a lying degenerate. He will say what he needs to say like a lawyer to get out of what he said. He'll take different positions depending on who he's talked to. He'll try not to answer the question or to fudge it or to give himself plausible deniability as much as he can. If he can sow chaos, if he's going to go pull a Joker on the system, he's going to burn Gotham to the ground. Okay, go ahead, man. But, he is who he is. Don't expect any better.
Exactly.
By the way, I'm giving you comments that you made in 2016, 17, 19. Endorsements. We know the years Gore, Kerry, Obama, Hillary, Bernie Sanders. They're all recent quotes. The NRA quote you made about calling them a terror group was 2018. So these are recent positions you've had. That I'm not sure why the Democratic Party wouldn't allow you to.
He's referring to a tweet that he sent out in response to the Parkland shooting, where RFK agreed with the Parkland students that the NRA was a terror group. So yeah, you can call that stale. That's 5 years. That's fairly recent. And Hannity's not a thoughtful guy. Hannity reads what's on the paper. That's why he read the dates.
Right.
2016, 17, 18, 20. Right. These are recent quotes.
Do you want to talk about my position, Sean?
Yes, sir.
He is talking about your positions, idiot.
Right.
He's a Republican. Yeah. And you thought that they were going to be into you because of the vaccine stuff and somewhat because of the Ukraine stuff, but they're not into you. They're not into you. You are pro-choice. You're anti-gun. You're an environmental lawyer, for fuck's sake. A Kennedy. Right? It shouldn't be this big surprise that they're going to turn on you once you threaten the candidate they actually prefer.
The Kennedy thing is a bonus for him. Like that, if they got a Kennedy who didn't have these positions, they would love it.
Oh, right.
They would love it,
does.
right?
It's a non-starter. The gun thing alone is a non-starter.
That would be like the Democrats running a Bush convert.
Right. Exactly.
I want to read talking points from the Trump campaign.
Well, excuse me. These are not talking points. These are called Hannity points. I do my own research.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I saw that same list published this morning.
I want to see how many books Hannity has in his study at home, in Long Island, wherever he lives. I do my own research here.
Campaign, it's the exact.
By the way, look at the dystopia on the other side of the screen. They're hauling around body bags. Just unbelievable. Oh, God.
Same list. And again, if you want to know what my position is on any issue, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Well, he just asked.
On those positions.
He just asked you your position. He just asked you to clarify your position, and you accuse him of dredging up stale talking points, some of which you never said. And now you're saying, hey, if you want to talk about my policies, that's why I'm here. No, he is talking about your policies. He's just not kissing your ass anymore because you're running against his candidate now. See, they don't care. When you're running in a Democratic primary, they will just use you to delegitimize the Democratic Party. You're an asset to the GOP when you run inside a rigged Democratic primary. That's why they spoke favorably about Sanders. Once you actually compete with them, they're going to treat you as an opponent because you are now the opponent.
Right.
Hannity wants Trump. He doesn't want RFK. And the conservative base wants Trump. They're not going to want the Republican base is not going to vote for a pro-choice, gun-grabbing environmental lawyer. No way. No way. That's why I'm telling you he's a bigger threat to Biden at the end of the day.
I never said that AIDS didn't exist. Right. I just spent 2 chapters in my book highlighting and platforming people who said that it doesn't.
Right.
You come off, and this is not an insulting thing. You are historically very left of center, very liberal, and I agree with you. Your party treated you horribly. I think you deserve better. I don't like the way your own family even treated you. I thought, if they don't agree with you, they can disagree. but I didn't like what they said about you. To be honest, I think you're being honest in your positions, but I don't think you can convince any conservative that you have any conservative leanings except for a couple of issues. Maybe some conservatives would agree on the border. Maybe some would agree on your vaccine policy, especially with COVID. Where else would you say you're conservative?
Well, I wouldn't describe myself at this point as part of the conservative ideology or the Democratic ideology. I would describe myself as part of the common sense ideology. If you ask me, Sean, about any particular issue, I'm happy to tell you what I feel about it. And I also am happy.
So tell him what you feel about it. He just raised a handful of issues. You just don't want to disagree with him. You don't want to have an argument because you don't want to alienate the viewers.
You don't want to burn the Fox audience.
Right. Instead, you're going to cry foul that he's somehow being unprofessional in doing this, as if it's some kind of ambush.
This is what he does. Look, the moment I turned on him was when I read those AIDS chapters. Because he sets it up by saying, I believe that AIDS is real. And then he spends 2 chapters explaining why it isn't. I said, this guy's a fucking scumbag. He made sure to say that so that if anybody ever brings it up, he could say, no, I said right in my book that I believe. Meanwhile, you clearly so if that's what you believe, why are these chapters in the book? Why would you spend literally 2 chapters highlighting arguments that it does not? That's how he is. That's who he is.
We're almost done. We're not going to watch this whole thing. We got a few more seconds here, though.
Listen to other people's opinions about it.
All right, I'll ask you. Do you still,
see, he's trying to ask him.
Do you still believe the NRA is a terror group?
I support the Second Amendment like I do all the amendments to the Constitution, and I'm not going to
ask you if you support the Second Amendment. You called in 2018. You said Parkland students are right. The NRA is a terror group. Do you believe that?
I don't consider the NRA a terror group.
Okay, so did you believe it then?
You got a straight answer out of him.
Right, but then why'd you say it at the time? I'm sure he does believe the NRA is a terror group. Most liberals do. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. Right. This is probably why the Libertarians were a non-starter, because obviously you can't say that if you're running for the Libertarian nomination. So, yeah, I mean, when he finally got a chance to explain his position, he just kind of awkwardly sat there and said, well, no, he disavowed his former position so as not to alienate the Fox audience. But if you notice, he filibustered for as long as he could before having to answer. He would have liked to have just wiggled out of that by somehow accusing Sean Hannity of ambushing him so that he can run away without having to actually take the kinds of positions that would alienate Hannity's viewers. But that's inevitable. That's inevitable, man. You know, the RFK, come on, you've been around. This is what right-wing media will go after you. Right. I mean, they will go after people who threaten the Republican Party. Right. That's what Fox is going to do to him now. The days where, they sit him down for a town hall and ask him about Ukraine and ask him about COVID and ask him about the border, where they paint him as this sympathetic figure. The only reason they did that in the past is because that helped undermine Joe Biden. But now you're an independent. So now it's you against Biden, against Trump. If they're for Trump, they're not for you anymore. That's it.
Right. Now he's fair game. Yeah, I don't know what he expected, and I gotta say, Sean Hannity's not the sharpest fucking knife in the drawer. He handled himself pretty well there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's how you know RFK just came in unprepared, and that's what I mean. I mean, the guy's just, come on. I mean, all things considered, and like I said, his stance on Ukraine is better than anybody else's, but his stance on Israel nullifies that. It nullifies that because now Israel is the new inroad into World War III. So now his stance on Ukraine doesn't even fucking matter, because if he's going to be a hawk on Israel, that means he's going to be a hawk on Iran. Iran is Russia's ally, so it doesn't even matter that he's anti-Ukraine war anymore.
Please clap.